Tell me more about working on tracing paper. Do you then transfer it to a piece of board with a light board, or?
Yes. Yeah. Well, first I do a rough, like ballpoint pen on a piece of printer paper. And then, and from that, based on that, I will lay the page. I'll make changes through every step, but I'll lay out the page on a piece of Bristol board. And whether, and I buy pads, so 14 by 17, or if it's a simpler page, it'll be 11 by 14, but usually 14 by 17. I'll lay the whole strip out on that. I'll block out all the panels. And then on top of that, I put a piece of tracing paper. And so I originally will draw everything on that tracing paper, first with light pencil, then with a darker, softer pencil. But like I said, like I have this weird visual dyslexia where there's always things off about it, and I can't fix it. I know that something is wrong, but I don't know how to solve it. And so I'll take that piece of tracing paper and I flip it backwards. I just turn it around backwards. And then I immediately see what needs to be fixed. So then with a very dark, soft pencil on the back of the tracing paper, I redraw the whole strip backwards. And while I'm doing that, I'm fixing. It's usually posture. That's the main thing that's a problem, is the way somebody's standing or walking or running. That's usually what I get wrong. And that step, looking at it all backwards, that's where I fix it. And then I flip it back over, and then I just, by rubbing all that pencil lines, I rub it onto the Bristol board. But I'm still making changes. There's still lots of times where I feel like, okay, this person's head, it's a little too low in the panel. So I just take the whole piece of tracing paper and shift it up, even if it's a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch. I just nudge it up, and then I transfer it, or nudge it to the left, nudge it to the right. I'm doing all of this nudging with each panel as I rub it onto the Bristol board. And then I have this very soft light pencil on the Bristol board, and then I'm penciling it again. I have to pencil again. You can't ink that, because while you're inking the top, your arm is rubbing all this soft rubbings. But that gives me another chance to make corrections. I'm still, with each step, I'm making corrections and I'm tweaking. This process gives me a lot of opportunity to tweak, and it also saves me from doing excessive erasing, because if I'm trying to do it all straight to the Bristol board and I'm making all of these mistakes, then I'm just erasing and erasing, and erasing itself chews up the paper. So then when you're inking on a very chewed up piece of paper. I hope all this makes sense.
Hey, no, absolutely. So one of the things that I'm trying to do with this podcast is for it to be interesting to artists and other illustrators. So that's why it's the conversation is very technique heavy. But
Yeah.
the process that you just described sounds very time intensive. From beginning to end, how long does it take you to finish a page?
When when I think about drawing a page, my stock answer, like a full comic book page, my stock answer would be like 3 pages. But when you factor in writing, and these days too, with doing nonfiction work, there's also research. So these days, I'd say it's probably a week went into each page. When you factor in everything, you're looking at a week's worth of labor when you look at one of my pages.